Here's part 1 of the story in about 800 words, written in third person with simple language. Wild human surprises everyone by adopting an abandoned ancient war dog as a pet. The metal corridors of Concordia Station hummed with the gentle sound of life support systems. The station floated in the dark emptiness of space, home to hundreds of different alien species who lived and worked together. Among them was Tai-Ho, a human diplomat from Earth. Tai-Ho liked to explore the forgotten parts of the station during his free time. Today he wandered through the old maintenance tunnels in the lower levels, areas most people avoided. His footsteps echoed against the metal floors as he moved deeper into the dimly lit passages. Station systems show unusual energy readings in Section 17B, said the computer voice in his earpiece. Would you like me to alert security? No need, Tai-Ho replied. I'm already here. I'll check it myself. He followed the blinking dot on his handheld scanner, moving carefully through narrow passages that hadn't seen visitors in years. The air felt colder here, away from the well-maintained upper levels. Tai-Ho stopped when he heard a sound, a low, rumbling growl that made the hairs on his arms stand up. Most people would have turned back immediately. Instead, Tai-Ho moved toward the noise. Behind a fallen metal panel, he found the source of the sound. At first, he saw only a pair of glowing blue eyes in the darkness. Then, as his light fell on the creature, Tai-Ho gasped. It was massive, at least the size of an earth tiger. Its black fur had a metallic sheen, and along its spine ran a series of glowing blue implants. The creature's muscles tensed as it watched him, teeth bared in warning. Tai-Ho immediately recognized what he was looking at. His mind raced back to his history studies. This was a Canis Bellator, a war dog. These creatures had been created by the Kirin Empire 500 years ago as living weapons. They were feared across the galaxy for their intelligence and deadly abilities. The war dog growled again, but Tai-Ho noticed something strange. The creature was injured. Dark fluid leaked from a wound in its side, and one of its leg implants sparked dangerously. You're hurt, Tai-Ho said softly. The creature tilted its head slightly, as if surprised by his voice. His communicator beeped. Diplomat Kim, I detect a Class 1 threat organism in your vicinity. Security has been alerted. Please move to a safe distance immediately. Tai-Ho knew what would happen. Station security would destroy the war dog on sight. These creatures were banned throughout known space. They were considered too dangerous to exist. Yet something in the war dog's eyes made Tai-Ho hesitate. There was intelligence there, and pain. Without fully understanding why, Tai-Ho made a decision that would change his life. He switched off his communicator. Don't worry, he said to the creature. I'm not going to hurt you. The war dog watched him with those intelligent blue eyes as Tai-Ho slowly opened his emergency medical kit. I'm going to help you, he explained, though he wasn't sure the creature understood. But you have to let me get close. To his surprise, the war dog stopped growling and shifted its position slightly, exposing the damaged implant. It was almost as if it understood. Tai-Ho moved forward carefully and began treating the wound. The creature remained still, watching him work. You need a name, Tai-Ho said as he applied medical gel to stop the bleeding. I'll call you Day. It means greatness in my language. Day's ears twitched at the sound of his new name. The loud clang of security doors opening echoed through the tunnels. Tai-Ho knew he had minutes before security found them. Listen to me, Day, he said urgently. They'll destroy you if they find you here. I need you to trust me. In a moment that seemed to stretch forever, human and war dog looked at each other. Then slowly, Day stood up. He was even more impressive standing, powerful shoulders almost reaching Tai-Ho's chest. Tai-Ho took a deep breath and removed his diplomat's jacket, draping it over Day's implants to hide their glow. This way, he whispered, leading Day down a maintenance shaft that would bypass the main corridors. As they moved through the shadows of the station, Tai-Ho knew his life would never be the same. He had just done something no one in the galaxy would understand. He had chosen to help a creature designed only for death and destruction. But looking at Day moving silently beside him, Taeho saw something the rest of the galaxy had missed. Behind the fearsome exterior was a living being, alone and in need of help. And humans, unlike the other species of the galaxy, had never been able to turn away from a creature in need. The blast doors to the security office slid open as Taeho entered. 4 stern faces looked up at him. Security Chief Sung stood with arms crossed, her expression hard as stone. Beside her, Medical Officer Jin and Station Commander Bayek exchanged worried glances. In the corner, Ambassador Mun from the Zetulian Confederation clicked his mandibles nervously. "You've lost your mind," Chief Sung said, her voice cutting through the silence. "Do you understand what you've done?" Taeho stood tall despite the tension in the room. "I saved a life." "You saved a weapon," Commander Bayek corrected. "The Canis Bellator isn't a pet, Diplomat Kim. It was made to kill." On the large screen behind them, security footage showed Day in a containment cell. The war dog paced slowly, his blue implants pulsing with energy. Sensors monitored his every movement. "He hasn't shown any aggression," Taeho pointed out. "Not toward me or anyone else." Medical Officer Jin stepped forward, datapad in hand. "That's what interests us most. By all accounts, these creatures were programmed to attack any non-Kirin life form. Yet this one seems different around you." Ambassador Mun moved closer, his tall, insect-like body trembling slightly. "My people, remember the war dogs? Thousands of Zetulians died when the Kirin Empire unleashed them on our world. They tore through our cities like storms of teeth and claws." "Day isn't like that," Taeho insisted. "Day?" Commander Bayek raised an eyebrow. "You named it?" He needed a name. Chief Sung slammed her hand on the table. "You're treating it like a pet. This thing could kill everyone on this station." The door opened again and Science Officer Yuna entered. She looked excited despite the tense atmosphere. "I've completed the initial scans," she announced. "And you won't believe what I found." She projected a hologram in the center of the room. It showed Day's brain activity. "This war dog is ancient. Carbon dating puts him at over 500 years old, from the final days of the Kirin Empire." The room fell silent as they absorbed this information. "How is that possible?" Taeho asked. "Stasis technology," Yuna explained. "He must have been in a preservation chamber that failed recently, but that's not the most interesting part." She pointed to colorful patterns in the brain scan. "Look at his neural activity when exposed to different species." The hologram changed to show bright red patterns. "This is his response to Zetulian pheromones, aggressive, combat-ready." The image shifted to yellow. "This is his response to Arcturian energy fields, also aggressive, but less intense." Finally, the image turned blue. "And this is his response to human neural patterns." The pattern was completely different, calmer, more organized. "It doesn't make sense," Ambassador Mun said. "Humans weren't even known to the Kirin Empire. How could they program the war dog to respond differently to a species they never encountered?" "They didn't," Yuna said. "That's what makes this so incredible. Something about human brain activity naturally bypasses the war dog's aggression programming." "So Day doesn't want to attack humans?" Taeho asked. "It seems that way," Yuna confirmed. "And the longer he spends with you, the more his neural patterns are changing. It's like his brain is healing." Commander Beck looked thoughtful. "Even so, we can't just have a war dog roaming the station. The diplomatic risk is too high." "I'll take full responsibility for him," Taeho said quickly. "Keep him under supervision, but let me continue working with him. If humans really can connect with these creatures, think what we might learn." The room fell silent again as everyone considered this. Finally, Ambassador Mun spoke. "My people have feared war dogs for generations, the idea of one living on this station." He paused, mandibles clicking softly. "But I am a diplomat. If there is a chance to understand these creatures better, perhaps it is worth the risk." "Klein. Allow it," Commander Beck decided. "But with strict conditions. The war dog stays in a secure area, full monitoring at all times, and at the first sign of aggression, we terminate it immediately." "Thank you," Taeho said, relief washing over Him, as the others filed out, Chief Sung stayed behind. I hope you know what you're doing, Kim. If that thing turns on you, I won't hesitate to shoot it. Tae-ho nodded. I understand. But I don't think Dae will hurt anyone. Later, in the secure holding area, Tae-ho sat cross-legged on the floor. On the other side of a clear barrier, Dae watched him intently. It's okay, Tae-ho said softly. We're going to figure this out together. To the surprise of the guards watching nearby, the war dog laid down, mirroring Tae-ho's calm posture. Its glowing blue eyes never left the human's face. Tae-ho sat quietly. On the floor of the observation room, a data pad in his lap. 30 days had passed since he found Dae in the abandoned section of the station. Each day, he spent 4 hours with the war dog, carefully building trust. On the other side of the room, Dae rested on a specially designed platform, his black metallic fur gleaming under the soft lights. Your vitals look good today, Tae-ho said, studying the readings. The medical treatment is working. Behind the observation window, Science Officer Yuna watched with intense interest, recording every interaction. What had started as a security precaution had become the most fascinating research project on the station. Try the new commands today, Yuna suggested through the communication system. Tae-ho nodded and stood up slowly. Dae, come. The war dog's ears perked up at the sound of his name. He rose to his full height, his shoulder reaching Tae-ho's chest, and moved forward with surprising grace for such a large creature. The blue implants along his spine pulsed gently. Good, Tae-ho said, reaching out slowly to touch Dae's head. The war dog leaned into his touch, a behavior that had shocked everyone the first time it happened. Now try the test objects, Yuna instructed. Tae-ho walked to a table where several items had been placed. He picked up a metal cylinder that gave off a faint humming sound. This is an Arcturian power cell, he explained to Dae. In the tests yesterday, it triggered your defense protocols. The war dog's eyes fixed on the cylinder, but he remained calm. I'm going to move closer with it, Tae-ho said. As he stepped toward Dae, the sensors in the room recorded everything: the war dog's heart rate, brain activity, the status of his implants. When Tae-ho stood directly before him, Dae sniffed the power cell cautiously. The readings on Yuna's screen spiked briefly, then settled back to normal levels. Incredible, Yuna whispered. 4 weeks ago, that power cell would have sent him into attack mode. Commander Bayek entered the observation room, accompanied by Ambassador Moon and 3 other alien diplomats who had requested to witness the tests. Is it safe? Asked one of the visitors, a tall Centaurian with pale green skin. As safe as groundbreaking research ever is, Commander Beck replied. We're witnessing something unprecedented. Inside the room, Tae-ho had moved on to the next test. He placed the power cell on the floor and stepped back. Dae, bring, he said clearly. The war dog looked at the object, then at Tae-ho. There was a moment of hesitation before he picked up the cylinder carefully in his mouth and carried it to the human. Ambassador Moon's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of astonishment among his species. 500 years ago, that creature would have torn apart anyone who wasn't Chiron. Now it fetches like a pet. Not just a pet, Yuna corrected. Something more complex. Look at these brain patterns. She displayed the latest scans on a large screen. The war dog's neural pathways are literally rewiring themselves through his interactions with Tae-ho. Areas that were once dedicated to aggression and combat are forming new connections. How is this possible? Commander Bayek asked. We have a theory, Yuna said. Throughout galactic history, humans are the only known species to domesticate predators for companionship. No other sentient race developed this trait. Something in our evolutionary history, perhaps our own predatory past, allows us to form bonds with creatures that other species would only see as threats. In the test room, Tae-ho had sat down again, and to everyone's amazement, Dae settled beside him, resting his massive head against the human's leg. We're seeing the formation of what I can only describe as an emotional bond, Yuna continued. The war dog's brain is producing chemicals similar to those found in Earth canines when they interact with their human companions. One of the alien visitors made a sound of disbelief. These creatures destroyed worlds, They cannot feel attachment. Perhaps that's what their creators intended, Yuna said. But Day has been exposed to something the Kirin Empire never anticipated. Human companionship. We're watching 500 years of programming being overwritten by something as simple as kindness. That evening, after the tests were complete, Tejo remained in the room. The security protocols had been relaxed enough to allow him to stay without the barrier between them. As station lights dimmed to simulate night, Tejo read aloud from a book, an old Earth custom he had maintained even in space. Dai listened, his blue eyes fixed on the human's face. "I think you understand more than they realize," Tejo said softly when he finished reading. Dai shifted closer, and Tejo placed his hand on the war dog's head. As he did, the implants along Dai's spine glowed a softer blue than before, pulsing, in rhythm with the human's heartbeat. Through the observation window, Yuna recorded this new development with growing excitement. The bond between human and war dog was becoming something science had never seen before. The alarm blared through Concordia Station, its high-pitched wail cutting through the normal hum of systems. Red emergency lights pulsed along every corridor, bathing the station in an eerie glow. Tejo had been in the diplomatic wing when it happened. He was discussing Dai's progress with a group of fascinated representatives from the Galactic Science Council when the station's AI announced in a calm voice, "Security breach detected. Unknown hostiles have entered Docking Bay 7. All personnel, please proceed to secure areas." From the security center, Chief Sung watched in horror as the surveillance feeds showed masked figures moving with military precision through the lower levels. They wore unmarked black armor and carried weapons that easily cut through the first wave of security officers. "It's the Stellar Liberation Front," Commander Bayek said, recognizing the tactics. "They've been attacking diplomatic outposts across 3 systems." "How did they get past our defenses?" Chief Sung demanded. "They had access codes," Beck replied grimly. "We have a traitor somewhere on this station." In the diplomatic wing, Tejo led a group of alien delegates away from the main corridors. Among them was Ambassador Moon, moving as quickly as his insect-like body allowed. "The emergency shelters are 3 levels down," Tejo explained. "We need to reach the central elevators." They turned a corner and froze. Ahead of them, the elevator doors slid open, revealing 2 armed attackers. Before anyone could react, the intruders raised their weapons. "Nobody move," one shouted. "All diplomats." "Hands visible now?" Tejo stepped forward slightly, shielding the others. "We're unarmed," he said calmly. "What do you want?" "The station's command codes," the taller attacker replied, "and access to the diplomatic communication network." Meanwhile, in the secure, holding area where Day was kept, the war dog paced restlessly. His enhanced senses had picked up the change in the station's rhythm long before the alarm sounded. Now, with the sirens blaring, his implants glowed brighter than normal. The 2 guards assigned to watch him exchanged nervous glances. "Look at him," one said. "He knows something's wrong." Day suddenly stopped pacing and turned toward the door, his ears forward and alert. A low growl built in his chest. "I don't like this," the second guard said, checking his weapon. "If he goes into combat mode..." The door to the holding area slid open, and 3 masked attackers entered with weapons raised. Before the guards could react, silent energy pulses hit them both. They collapsed to the floor unconscious. The attackers approached Day's containment field cautiously. "Is that what I think it is?" one asked, voice filled with awe. "A Kirin War dog," another confirmed. "Command said there might be valuable tech on this station, but this is beyond valuable." The third attacker moved to a control panel. "We're taking it with us. A working war dog would be worth more than this entire station." As the field around Day began to power down, the war dog's eyes fixed on the attackers. His implants pulsed rapidly, scanning the unknown figures. But instead of going into combat mode as the attackers expected, Day remained focused and alert. His programming had changed in ways they couldn't understand. In his mind, one priority overrode all others. Find Tejo. The moment the field disappeared completely, Day moved with blinding speed. The attackers fired, but the war dog was already past them, out the door and into the corridor. Back in the Aki diplomatic wing, Taeho and the delegates were being marched at gunpoint toward the command center. Ambassador Moon stumbled and one of the attackers shoved him roughly. "Leave him alone," Taeho said sharply. "He can't move any faster." "Shut up," the attacker snapped, raising his weapon. What happened next occurred so quickly that Taeho barely registered it. A black blur shot down the corridor. There was a snarl, a flash of blue light, and suddenly the attacker was on the ground. Standing over him, teeth bared and implants glowing fiercely, was Day. The second attacker turned his weapon toward the war dog, but Day was faster. With precision that spoke of his ancient programming, he disabled the attacker without killing him, knocking the weapon away and pinning him to the floor. "Day!" Taeho whispered in amazement. The war dog turned at the sound of his name, eyes finding Taeho's face. In that moment, something remarkable happened. The blue glow of Day's implants shifted to a calmer pulse, matching the rhythm of Taeho's rapid heartbeat. Ambassador Moon clicked his mandibles in astonishment. "It protected us," he said. "A war dog protected the very species it was designed to destroy." Taeho moved forward and placed his hand on Day's head. "Good boy," he said, softly. From Day's enhanced senses, they learned that more attackers were heading toward the command center. With the war dog leading the way, they were able to avoid the intruders and reach the secure emergency shelter where other station personnel had gathered. When Chief Sung saw Day enter with the diplomats, her hand went immediately to her weapon. "Wait," Ambassador Moon said, stepping forward. "This creature saved our lives. It could have escaped during the attack, could have reverted to its original programming. Instead, it chose to protect us." As station security worked to retake control from the attackers, Taeho sat with Day in a quiet corner of the shelter. The war dog stayed close, his powerful body a shield between Taeho and the rest of the room. "You chose," Taeho said quietly, running his hand along Day's back. "You could have gone back to what you were made for, but you chose something different." Day looked up at him with those intelligent blue eyes, and Taeho knew that something unprecedented had happened on Concordia Station. Something that would change how the galaxy understood both war dogs and humans. The Grand Council chamber of Yo. Concordia Station had never been so full. Representatives from 37 species filled the tiered seating, their voices creating a buzz of excitement and tension. At the center of the chamber stood a circular platform where evidence would be presented. Today's hearing would decide something unprecedented, the status of a Chiron war dog. 1 week had passed since the attack on the station. The Stellar Liberation Front members had been captured and were facing trial elsewhere. Now the station had to address the more complex matter of Day. Commander Beck called the session to order. "We are here to determine the classification and future of the Canis Bellator specimen currently in diplomatic custody." Taeho stood near the platform, with Day by his side. The war dog was calm, his blue implants pulsing steadily. Many of the gathered aliens shifted uncomfortably at the sight of him. For centuries, their species had known war dogs only as weapons of terror. Science Officer Yuna was the first to address the council. She activated the central display, showing brain scan images that floated in the air for all to see. "These are D's neural patterns when we first found him," Yuna explained, pointing to wild, jagged lines of red and orange. These areas controlled aggression, targeting, and attack responses. They dominated his brain function. She swiped her hand, and the display changed to show new patterns in blue and green. These are his neural patterns today. The difference is remarkable. Areas once devoted to combat have developed new connections. His brain has essentially rewired itself. A Tellurian diplomat leaned forward. "Are you suggesting this creature is no longer dangerous?" "I'm suggesting something more significant," Yuna replied. "Day has developed beyond his original programming. He has formed emotional bonds. He has made choices that directly contradict his design as a weapon." Chief Sung stepped forward next. She had been among the strongest voices against keeping Day on the station. "I've reviewed all security footage from the attack," she said. "The war dog had multiple opportunities to escape or to revert to combat protocols against non-human species. Instead he chose to protect not only Diplomat Kim but also Ambassador Moon and other non-human delegates. Murmurs spread through the chamber as images from the attack played on the display. Everyone could see Day moving to protect the diplomats, carefully disabling attackers without killing them. Ambassador Moon rose from his seat, his tall insect-like form drawing all eyes. "My people have feared war dogs for 5 centuries, he said, his voice translator carrying his words clearly through the chamber. Our oldest stories tell of their ferocity, of cities lost to their attacks. If anyone here has reason to demand this creature's removal, it is me." The room fell silent, waiting for his next words. "Yet I stand before you to say this. The being called Day saved my life." Ambassador Moon moved closer to the platform, each step deliberately slow. He chose to protect rather than harm. In doing so, he has demonstrated that he is more than a weapon. He has demonstrated something we thought impossible: growth beyond programming. Taeho stepped forward. "When I found Day, I didn't understand why I felt compelled to help him. Now I believe I do." He placed his hand on Day's head and the war dog leaned slightly against his leg. Humans have always had a unique relationship with predator species. Throughout our history on Earth, we transformed wolves into companions that would die to protect us. This trait, seeing beyond the dangerous exterior to the potential for connection, is uniquely human. Commander Bayek nodded slowly. "The question remains, what do we do with a 500-year-old living weapon that no longer wishes to be a weapon?" An elderly Arcturian scientist raised her hand. "In all my years studying sentient species, I have never witnessed anything like this. If this war dog can change so fundamentally, perhaps we need to reconsider our understanding of sentience itself." For hours, the council debated. Some argued for caution, others for scientific study. A few still called for Day to be destroyed. Throughout it all, the war dog remained calm beside Taeho, watching the proceedings with intelligent eyes. Finally, Commander Beck called for a vote. "We have 3 options before us: classification as a weapon to be destroyed, classification as a research subject to be contained, or classification as a sentient companion with rights of protection." One by one, the representatives cast their votes. When Ambassador Moon's turn came, the chamber grew especially quiet. "I vote to recognize this being as sentient," he said firmly. "My ancestors would not understand this choice, but perhaps that is how we grow beyond our own programming, by making choices our ancestors could not imagine." In the end, the vote was decisive. Day would be classified as a sentient companion, the first of his kind to receive such recognition. As the council dispersed, many representatives approached Taeho and Day cautiously, curious to see the war dog up close without the barrier of fear. Ambassador Moon extended a trembling hand, and after a moment's hesitation, Day gently touched his nose to it. "Perhaps," the ambassador said, "the humans' greatest gift to our galactic community is not their technology or their art, but their strange ability to see past fear and find connection where the rest of us see only danger." Later, as Taeho and Day walked through the main promenade of the station, other residents stopped to watch them pass. No longer did they move away in fear. Instead, many nodded in recognition of something extraordinary: a human and a creature, designed for war, now walking together as companions. Day's implants glowed a soft blue in the station's evening light, pulsing in perfect harmony with his human friend's heartbeat. The war dog had found something his creators never intended: a home, not on a battlefield, but at the side of a species that had looked beyond his fearsome design and seen something worthy of love.